IIBA CBAP exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. You can delete this slide when you're done editing. Then organization is transitioning from a predictive lifecycle to an agile delivery method. The shift introduces new uncertainties and opportunities for the business analyst, BA. Which business analysis planning and monitoring component will experience the greatest adjustment due to this organizational shift? A. Scheduling and sequencing of BA activities. B. Processes for resolving escalations. C. Tools supporting technology integration. D. Definition of the required solution boundaries presentation. The answer is A. When an organization adopts an agile approach, the timing and cadence of business analysis work shifts significantly because activities become iterative rather than sequential. This directly affects when and how the BA engages stakeholders, captures information, and updates requirements. Agile also encourages continuous refinement, which changes the rhythm of planning tasks. While conflict management, tooling, and scope definition may be influenced, none require as substantial structural change as the timing of BA tasks. Therefore, scheduling and sequencing of BA activities are most affected. A lead BA is asked to improve analytical practices within a large IT department. Stakeholders complain about long analysis cycles and unclear requirements, yet no group can provide objective evidence for their concerns. Some stakeholders refuse to approve requirement documents due to a few unresolved items, delaying multiple initiatives. Which action should the lead BA take first? A. Report the issue to executive leadership. B. Establish limits on review cycles and approval durations. C. Document approval status at the individual requirement level. D. Provide rewards for faster stakeholder sign-off. The answer is C. Tracking approvals at a granular, requirement-level view helps identify precisely where delays, disagreements, and bottlenecks are occurring. This provides objective data rather than anecdotal concerns, enabling targeted conversations with the right reviewers. With detailed traceability, the BA can isolate which requirements are controversial and understand the reasoning behind objections. This evidence-based approach also reduces unnecessary rework and avoids stalling the entire specification for a few items. Therefore, documenting approvals per requirement is the best initial step. In a plan-driven business analysis environment, proposed changes must be carefully controlled. What must be true for a change to be accepted in this approach? A. Only modifications costing less than a preset percentage threshold are considered. B. Changes must remain within 10% of the initial solution cost. C. Only changes that are essential should be implemented. D. Changes are strictly prohibited once planning is complete. The answer is C. Plan-driven approaches emphasize predictability and stability, so alterations are evaluated rigorously. This means a change must add genuine, necessary value to justify disturbing the established plan. Optional or speculative changes are discouraged because they risk budget, timeline, and scope integrity. Accepting only essential changes aligns with the tighter governance typical of predictive environments. Thus, determining genuine necessity is the core acceptance criterion. A BA is examining various diagrams used to identify underlying contributors to an observed outcome. One specific diagram maps potential reasons that collectively influence an effect and helps uncover contributing sources. Which diagram matches this description? A. Fishbone diagram. B. Process flow diagram. C. Configuration mapping chart. D. Statistical control chart. The answer is A. A fishbone, Ishikawa, diagram visually organizes potential causes of a problem into logical branches. It is explicitly designed to support causal exploration by grouping root contributors into categories. This technique is widely used in quality management and process improvement to reveal hidden or interacting factors. Flow charts and configuration charts illustrate processes but do not diagnose causality. Control charts visualize performance stability, not cause analysis. Therefore, the fishbone diagram is the correct match. A team needs to identify the specific characteristics, features, and outcomes that the customer expects from the proposed solution. Which document most accurately describes these customer-focused expectations? A. Project Kickoff Charter. B. Procurement Strategy Outline. C. Definition of the product's scope. D. Network Dependency Diagram. The answer is C. The product scope statement describes the deliverables' features and attributes, outlining what the customer expects the solution to provide. It focuses on functional and non-functional characteristics that determine value delivered to stakeholders. This differentiates it from the project charter, which states justification and high-level objectives rather than detailed expectations. Procurement plans and network diagrams have operational or scheduling purposes rather than defining solution characteristics. Thus, the product scope statement is the authoritative source of customer expected deliverables. During testing, a developer incorporated a new requirement requested directly by a stakeholder. The business analyst learned about this change only after defects appeared in an unrelated area. Which artifact would best prevent this issue in future projects? A. A documented risk response plan. B. A method to evaluate priority levels. C. A formal change governance mechanism. D. A stakeholder responsibility matrix. The answer is C. A structured change control process ensures that any request, however small, is evaluated, approved, and documented before implementation. This prevents unauthorized or uncommunicated modifications that create inconsistencies or defects. Change governance also maintains alignment across testing, development, and analysis teams. Without this process, scope drift becomes more likely and quality assurance weakens. Therefore, a formal change control mechanism is essential to avoid repeat occurrences. When preparing to carry out elicitation activities, a BA gathers necessary inputs. Which of the following is not a valid input for the elicitation preparation phase? A. Requirements Management Plan. B. Previously captured elicitation results. C. Defined solution scope. D. Identified business need. The answer is B. Preparation for elicitation requires understanding the business need, the scope of the solution, and the plan describing how requirements will be managed. Previously documented elicitation results are outputs of past work, not inputs for planning upcoming engagements. These earlier results do not guide preparation but may support later validation. Inputs for preparation must help the BA determine objectives, stakeholders, and approaches. Therefore, previous elicitation results are not a required input. A BA assessed a railway ticketing booth by observing a clerk for 2 isolated days. Based on the limited data, the clerk appeared underutilized. What should the BA's next step be? A. Validate expected outcomes against perceived operational performance. B. Gather additional observations to avoid mistaken conclusions from insufficient sampling. C. Recommend organizational restructuring to increase the clerk's workload. D. Compare the clerk's performance with other companies' similar roles. The answer is A. Before making any operational assumptions, the BA must evaluate whether the observed performance aligns with the intended value and defined expectations. This requires comparing actual results with the expected performance metrics to confirm whether underutilization is genuinely an issue. Jumping directly to further analysis or organizational changes risks misinterpreting the underlying context. Understanding expected value ensures that conclusions are grounded in business goals rather than surface-level observation. Thus, verifying expected value is the proper next step. While defining the business analysis approach, a BA wants to evaluate methodologies by comparing how well each aligns with organizational goals and needs. Which technique best supports this assessment? A. Structured peer review. B. Decision evaluation. C. Cause exploration analysis. D. Process visualization. The answer is D. Process modeling allows the BA to compare methods by mapping how each would operate within the organization's workflow. Visualizing the process highlights strengths, weaknesses, touchpoints, and suitability relative to organizational constraints. It provides a clear basis for contrasting methodologies. While decision analysis helps rank options, it is the process model that directly illustrates operational fit. Therefore, process modeling is the most appropriate technique for this comparison. A BA is preparing to conduct observation using a passive monitoring approach to collect performance metrics. What must the BA identify next? A. The performance indicators to be captured. B. The task or process dependencies. C. The individuals who will participate. D. The communication channels to be used. The answer is B. Before observing passive performance, the BA must understand what processes depend on one another to correctly interpret the observed workflow. Dependencies help determine where handoffs or bottlenecks may occur and contextualize performance metrics. Without identifying dependencies, the BA risks misinterpreting observed activity as inefficiency or error. Participants and metrics are important but are defined after understanding how tasks connect. Therefore, mapping dependencies is the critical next step.